Blessings and welcome back to How to Master the Art of Manifestation 2.0. This beautiful adventure that we are on, that we are participating in, where we get to increasingly become aware of how to move ourselves deeper into vibrational alignment with the good that we wish to experience, how we can move ourselves deeper into alignment with the principles of the sacred laws that govern our universe, so that the good that we wish to experience, so that it may flow into our lives with ever-increasing ease and grace, so that we may transform our lives, so that ever-expanding peace and love and joy and harmony and wholeness and beauty and abundance may reign supreme within us, regardless of what is going on in the external realm. So my name is Daniel Roquillo, and I am, as always, very grateful and honored that you are here, that you're choosing to join me, for your willingness to do this work, for you saying yes to being on this path and for doing this work. So thank you so much for that. Today's topic is a phrase. I don't know where it comes from. I don't even think it's something that someone has really said, but it's a phrase, it's a statement that points us to one aspect of this trusting and surrendering, this unconditional trusting and surrendering, as this section is all about. And the phrase is, the ego says, "Show me, God, and I'll trust you." And God says, "Trust me and I will show you." And this beautifully points us to the order in which this all works. I don't know if you remember, but in this section of Catching That Big and Mighty Dream, we talked about how we needed to say yes to it, and how we needed to say yes to it even before it manifests, because it is in the saying yes that the journey really begins. It is in the saying yes that these sacred laws can really truly begin to guide and lead and move us. And this is exactly the same that we're talking about here, you know? So, because oftentimes, us humans, we are so set on judging by appearances. We are so set on giving our physical senses, giving what we can see in the external world, the surface appearances, that which seems to be the external conditions and circumstances. We're so set on giving these power, dictating what we think, what we feel, and thus our experiences, right? But if you remember from the very first section, when we talked about the principles of these sacred laws, how consciousness always precedes form, right? So if we truly want to learn to cultivate this unconditional trust and surrender, it means that we need to choose it. And we need to choose it even before we can see it. We need to choose to trust our spiritual senses more than we trust our physical senses. We need to choose to trust what we cannot see, that which still might be in the invisible realm, more than what we can see here in this physical realm. As we talked about a number of sessions ago, it is so easy to trust when everything is playing itself out beautifully, when everything is just flowing beautifully. There's no challenge in trusting then. But trusting only when things appear to go our way, that's not building trust. That's just judging by appearances. So we truly need to begin trusting. We truly need to begin with trusting, by trusting, taking the first step. Like this phrase goes, God says, "Trust me and I will show you." And what happens when we trust? And when I say trust, I'm not saying that we're freed and void of all experiences pertaining to fear and worry and doubt. that we're not experiencing these. I'm not saying that at all. It is not the emotion that we experience that determine whether or not we're trusting, that sends the vibrational message to the sacred laws. But it is how we choose to respond to that emotion, to respond to that experience. So we can be, and this is obviously something that we will explore more in the section of challenges, but we can absolutely be steeped, having a profound and very intense experience of fear, and yet choose to move from trust in spite of the fear. So it is not the emotion in and of itself. It is not our thought forms in and of themselves that determine our level of trust. It is how we're responding to that. We can either react, which is where we give these thought forms, these stories, these beliefs, these emotions, when we give them power to run us. Or we can take our power back, we can reclaim our power and begin to move in spite of these. Keep moving forward, even when we perhaps cannot see how things are going to unfold. But it all begins with us trusting first, moving toward the good that we wish to experience, even when there is no visible evidence of it. And as we have talked about, and we will talk more about it, the bigger the vision we have, the bigger the intention we have, the bigger the dream we have that we're moving towards, that we're saying, that we have said yes to and continuously are saying yes to, the more will we be called to release and let go of, right? And when the structures are crumbling, and I literally mean that if we have a truly big vision for our lives, then the structures in our lives, they will begin crumbling. Our relationships, our careers, our finances, maybe even our health, they may be topsy-turvy from time to time, because they are rearranging themselves, they are realigning themselves in accordance to, in perfect alignment with the vision that we are moving towards, and in accordance to the perfect pattern of unfolding, as we talked about a number of sessions ago. Perfect perfection, perfect preparation, and perfect unfoldment is always happening. But we need to trust that even when our eyes cannot see it. And it begins with us trusting first. We need to reach out our hands, and we will, in the section of challenges, we will explore a number of tools and practices to really cultivate the ability to not judge by appearances. But we need to. No one else is going to choose this for us. We can absolutely ask for help. We can absolutely reach out to this benevolent, loving presence, which really we're not reaching out. We're just we're just establishing a conscious connection with the one, the truth and the essence of who and what we are, the essence of our beingness. But we can absolutely ask for help. Help, I cannot do this. Please do it through me. I do not have the strength to do this. I do not have the strength to do this. Do it for me. Do it through me. It's been said that Spirit can only do for us what we give Spirit permission to do through us, meaning we need to make ourselves open and available. We need to step into the consciousness, consciously stepping into the consciousness of trusting and surrendering, even when there is no physical evidence of anything happen. And this is something, that particular topic is something that we will explore in the next session. How we're wise to not ever judge by appearances. But regardless of what we see in the physical realm, we need to trust that it is done. We need to trust that all is well. We need to do whatever we need to do to move ourselves into the feeling tone that all is well, so that we may relax, so that we may rejoice, so that we may let it be and let the unfolding and the manifestation happens, how it is always happening. So this is all inner work. I know that I've said that a number of times. This is all inner work. And a beautiful question that we can ask, and this is something that we will talk more about in later on in the session. But so what we need to be aware of is that every single choice inherently carries a yes, inherently carries a no. Every single choice that we make inherently has a yes and a no in it. Meaning, we want to be and we need to be mindful that the choices that we are making, that they are in alignment with trust. When we move from fear, when we give fear permission to move us, when we perhaps we're moving towards something and we're perhaps not seeing the physical evidence of its manifestation yet. It is normal and it is easy for doubt to begin to emerge, for fear perhaps to begin to emerge. And we perhaps begin to turn our attention more toward the lack and the absence of the thing that we wish to see manifested than its doneness in the infinite mind. And we perhaps begin to turn our attention more towards lack in general than the good that is already here in our lives right now. So we need to be aware that whenever we turn our attention away from, whenever we choose from fear, we are affirming the lack. We're saying yes to the lack. We're saying yes to the scarcity. We're saying yes to the separation, the sense of separation. And in effect, as we're saying yes to that, we're in effect saying no to the demonstration, to the manifestation of the good that we wish to experience. When we move in spite of fear, we're saying yes to trust. We're saying yes to it already being done. We're saying yes to it manifesting right here, right now. And so we're saying yes to the manifestation. We're saying yes to all of our needs being met. We're saying yes to everything unfolding perfectly. So we need to be mindful. We need to be clear on what it is that we are choosing. We need to be mindful that so that we're choosing that which affirms the manifestation, that which serves the manifestation, that which facilitates the manifestation. But it begins with us. It begins with us. The ego says, show me God and I'll trust you. God says, trust me and I will show you. Consciousness always precedes form. Manifestation always follows consciousness. So we need to, in consciousness, steep ourselves in trust first. Even if we perhaps do not feel all that trust-y, we can still move as though we knew that all was well. Even if we perhaps do not feel that all of our needs are met, even if we cannot see how the manifestation is happening, we can still choose to move as though it was happening, as though all of our needs were met. And then as we raise ourselves onto that vibration, even when in the experience of fear or worry or doubt or anxiety or whatnot, when we raise ourselves onto that higher vibration, the whole universe rises up to meet us there, because it can only reflect, mirror back where we are in consciousness predominantly. So this whole idea, this whole way of life of trusting, it begins with us taking the first step, choosing to trust even when our physical senses perhaps are telling us that there's nothing here to trust. But as we keep moving forward in faith, in trust, that which we're trusting, this benevolent, loving presence, it will pave the way. It will open doors. It will provide abundantly, beautifully, magnificently. But if we sit around waiting, procrastinating, just waiting for the perfect conditions, circumstances to come into our lives before we trust, like that egoic part of that conversation, Show me and I will trust you. If we're waiting for the physical demonstrations to happen first before we trust, before we begin to move, then we'll be sitting around forever. Then we'll be sitting around forever waiting for those perfect conditions and circumstances. These sacred laws, as long as we're at a standstill, as long as we are, unless we have a momentum or begin to build a momentum, these sacred laws have nothing to work with. As I believe we talked about that, turning the wheels on a big old truck while it's standing still. Nowadays, when we're having the power steering and all that, but let's say that we haven't even turned the engine on, so the power steering has not been activated. Now try to turn the wheels of that big truck. It's hard work. It's difficult work. But when the truck is moving, then turning the wheels is quite easy, I would imagine. Because the same technology is in cars. And even though I don't know how to drive a big old truck, I do know how to drive a car. So the principles are the same. Or riding a bike. Turning while standing still on the bike, it's quite difficult. But turning when riding the bike and having had enough speed, it's quite easy. So it all begins with us. We need to take the first step. We need to reach out to ask for help if that is what we feel we need, but we need to move from trust rather than from fear. Cool? So the invitation for this particular session is for us to be mindful, to become aware of where we're perhaps waiting for conditions, circumstances to be what we want them to be or we think they should be before we start moving. Where are we holding back because we trust the physical appearance, the surface appearance, more than the invisible, the infinite? And the question is, as so many times before, this choice that I just made, this choice that I'm about to make, we can tweak it. Let's tweak it. This choice that I just made, this choice that I'm about to make, what am I saying yes to? Am I saying yes to the manifestation of the good that I wish to experience? Or am I saying no to it? What am I saying yes to? And what is it that I'm saying no to by making this choice? By the choice I just made. By the choice I just made. And once again, this allows for a beautiful awareness to begin to emerge. And it is that awareness that allows us to make more and more conscious choices, higher choices. So we want to be mindful as much as possible, practicing the presence, mindful, witnessing and observing where we are in consciousness, what we're moving for, what we're moving from, what we are giving power to. Are we giving power to fear? Are we giving power to trust? Are we giving power to the ego and its structures? Are we giving power to this benevolent, loving presence? Are we giving power to what our physical senses can pick up? Or are we giving power to our spiritual senses, our soul, our hearts? Right? All right. So until we meet in the next session, I absolutely, as always, bless our days, and I bless our ways in the full knowing that all is well, that something wonderful is happening, that everything is working for our highest good, that perfect preparation and unfolding is always happening with much love and many blessings. Namaste.